So we'll start pretty easy, low-level question. Just introduce yourselves. I think we have, 2 mics between the 3 of y'all, so share, be nice. Introduce yourself, who are you representing, and then talk a little bit about your business.
Hi. Oops.
Oh yeah, you gotta push the button to turn it on, make green light. And I'm gonna turn out so there's some feedback.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sandra Rodgers, and I'm representing DevMountain. And I currently work there as a mentor, so I'm kind of like an assistant to the instructor and helping the students learn the content. And I recently graduated from DevMountain, so I know firsthand about the experience of being a student there. DevMountain has locations in Dallas, in Phoenix, and in Lehi, Utah.
Do I really need this?
We do for the YouTube channel, please.
I'm Mitra McNulty. I am the Student Success Manager for the SMU Tech Bootcamps. I have been with it for about 2.5 years. I do not code. I am not tech at all, but that's okay. I do other things. And so our Tech Bootcamps, are hosted at SMU and online. However, Trilogy is partnered with SMU, and as you know, Trilogy also partners with over 40 universities and other companies to offer this program globally.
All right, so my name is Joy Stauffer, and I'm with Platform by Scholas, and we are a national nonprofit that creates opportunities for those who are underemployed and often overlooked in the market. So you've got underemployed and those that may not be able to get the opportunities to get their tech careers started. We are located in 8 cities, including, let's see, I have to write these down because that's a lot. We've got Atlanta, Greater Boston, Greater Cincinnati, Columbus, Dallas, National Capital Region, Newark, New York. And the big news is that we are about to have our 10,000th student graduate.
All right, that's perfect, because that leads right into our next thing we talked a little bit about. So I want to hear about your mission statement or values, core values for each of the boot camps that you're talking about.
I guess for DevMountain, the biggest value for them is accessibility. So the main thing is to make it accessible to as many people as possible. So it's one of the most affordable boot camps out there. I know that's one of the reasons I chose it. And they have housing which they provide. So for people who need to have that and who come from other cities. So a lot of people actually come from outside Dallas, or if you're in the far suburbs, you can stay on campus. So also impact, making an impact is a value in the sense that you leave the boot camp ready to make an impact. You know what it is that you need to do to learn the material to continue on your journey in tech. So yeah, that's the basic core values.
As a Tech Bootcamp, it is a partnership, as I said before, it is a partnership between SMU and Trilogy, and it is a career accelerator program. And so what kind of separates us from other Tech Bootcamps is that our curriculum is market driven, and it is inspired by what's going on in DFW or whatever area the program is hosted. And so it serves to meet those demands of the market.
Okay. All right. So we are, our core values are creating opportunities. So those who want to work hard, we create the real opportunities to build better lives for themselves and their families. Closing our skill divide. Dedicating people to work in key technical roles, and we're always designing our courses in response to what employers are needing in the market as well. And then achieving diversity. So one of our huge things is how diverse our students are. We're building a more diverse technical workforce, creating on-ramps for women, people of color, and groups staggeringly unrepresented in IT employment today. And some 90% of our students are people of color, a third are women, and a third are disconnected young adults.
All right, so how long does each one last?
So ours is 13 weeks. And yeah.
Well, because we offer 3 different programs, we have a part-time that's 24 weeks offered in the evening, and we also have a part-time that's offered online. We have a 12-week program which equals about 60 classes Monday through Friday, but that one is not offered online, so that's only in person.
We've got we've got 2 sides to our organization, and our program side offers 10 and 15 week courses, and then the side that I instruct on is 12 weeks for the different lines.
And how much does it cost a student? And I like this. What's your revenue model? Let's talk about those gross margins.
Okay, I'm not going to really talk about the revenue model. I don't think I'm in a position to do so, but what I can say is that the tuition is very affordable for a web immersive bootcamp full stack development. So it's $11,900 for the full program, and if you need housing, that is included.
So ours is so our online program is $11,000. Our part-time in-person and our data science program are both $11,500, and our full-time 12-week program is $12,500. Oh, and I actually can't speak to the revenue model, but I can talk about financial aid and all those type of things if anyone has those questions.
So, our revenue model is that our courses are 100% free. So, since we are a nonprofit, the platform by Scholas side has a corporate sponsorship, and they pay for the students to go through our courses, and we have, we'll get into which courses in a little bit, but, and then on our program side, we've got every single student that comes through is fundraised for, and that is sponsored by donors.
All right, this is my favorite part. Talk to me about your tech stack. Yeah, talk nerdy to me.
All right, so it is full stack web immersive course. So you spend the whole time really learning front end to back end development. So by the time you leave, you're able to create a full stack application from scratch if you study really hard and work really hard. So the main focus is React, JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and Node. You learn about Express and SQL. So all of the stuff you need to build the applications that you want to and to get a job as a developer if you really put in the effort.
I concur. We also do the learn stack, so we have MongoDB, Express, React, and Node, and of course the front end, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all of those things as well.
Okay, did I mention we've got several things happening? All right, so I wrote these all out because this depends. So it depends on which course you're enrolled in. So we've got Java, C#, data engineering, A+, which ends with a certification that is sponsored, also paid for, Net+, which is also paid for, and network support, which is both A+ and Net+. So we do full stack Java, full stack C#, all that kind of good stuff.
Are you accepting applications?
We are accepting applications.
I need to get A+ certified. Okay.
It is full time.
Well, Alchemy doesn't have to know.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm working from home.
You're on camera.
They know me. Okay, so I know that a lot of boot camps, if not all of them, are project-based, and that's my passion, is project-based learning. So I want to know what sort of projects students are going to be working on when they're there. Is it one big one the whole time? Is it broken up into little ones?
Right, that's great. Yeah, and I was an educator before I started at DevMountain. I taught for 10 years as an English teacher, and I love project-based projects. There's one huge project that's your personal project where you develop a full stack website or application based on everything you've learned. And I really like that at DevMountain they don't do that at the end. They do that kind of like halfway through the program because it's the biggest struggle. And when you come out of that, you're able to just really push off and take off with your learning. It's not that you're just at the end kind of going through that struggle. So we also have the end kind of culmination project is a group project, and that's where you learn a lot of what the real world skills are, working with GitHub and pushing code and pulling, merging, all that stuff. So kind of agile and everything.
So the way our program is set up, the part-time program, the 24-week program, it has three big projects, and so the first project is done after the first 7 units, which is the first 7 units is all front-end components. And then the second project is where they actually, it's their first time actually doing full stack and combining front end and back end. And then the final project, it can be a solo or a group project, and it is a combination of everything. So that's what we call them, full stack developers at the end.
Thanks. All right. So we take everybody through, so on the platform side, we do just exercises throughout the 12 weeks for, they get business, IT business, so it depends on which course you're in, and it's exciting. I teach that part. I make it fun. All right.
Fun is the best one.
So, and then they move into SQL, depending on which program you're in, will depend on which SQL you're getting. Right now, we're in the process of transitioning from Oracle and MySQL into MariaDB. And if you are in the .NET class, then you get Microsoft SQL Server. So, and then, obviously, if you're in the C# class, you move on through all the C# stuff. And then we have, just exercises in Java, full web application to build. Yes. So 2 of our classes are application support management and our quality engineering get a full stack to build out, and it's a case study that it's due at different parts are due at different times during the course. So you build up to the granddaddy of it all and turn it all in. The quality engineering also does Selenium, JUnit, and all that good stuff for application testing and automation testing. So they, and then they do Spring MVC, serverless JSP. Awesome. Our data engineering does Hadoop using Hive, Scoop, Oozie, Higgs, Spark, and also AWS Redshift. Isn't that fun?
Is that all?
I didn't hit the core side. They get to tear apart stuff and put it back together.
Sounds dangerous and exciting. Okay, so a lot of companies are trying to hiring, that's the word, T people, T learners, T whatever. Just like they have a breadth of knowledge and a little bit across all the way, and they know one thing really well. So when someone leaves your sector boot camp, are they focusing on a breadth and kind of getting experience all the way across the board? Or are they learning one thing really well?
So at DevMountain, it's more focused on depth of knowledge. You do learn a lot of technologies, but you learn one really, really well. And you come out of there with really deep knowledge of React. So I would say that at the end of it, your focus or your biggest strength is React and JavaScript, HTML, CSS, leaning a little bit more towards the front end. But I think a lot of people, they have to figure out what's best when you're looking for a job. Do you need to know all sorts of technologies? Really, the best thing is to have one that you know really well, and so DevMountain does the job of getting you started with that on that journey.
introduce students to several different technologies. However, we tell students, and we have to remind them about this several times, but in the process, we help students build on their critical thinking skills, those problem-solving abilities, and their research skills, because that's what we feel is most important, because you can know all, you can say you're trying to learn the technologies, but as soon as there's an update, then what? So it really is about strengthening those critical thinking, those problem-solving, and research skills.
So I said it depends before, right? Okay, so the answer is both. Our data engineering, we cover more of a breadth of topics. There's a whole lot to go through, and we get you going and get you into an entry-level position with data engineering. We go more into depth of knowledge of Java or C# in our application support and quality engineering.
All right. This is where it gets real. Talking about how many people are getting jobs after they graduate.
Yeah, it's a really tough question, especially for me, because I don't have all the numbers, but what I do know, I can tell you a few things. So, in terms of generally speaking from maybe in a 1 year period of time, it's about 60 to 80%, but there's a lot that goes into figuring out that number. I can tell you that I graduated from the program at the beginning of April, and my cohort had about 18 people, 17 people, and 5, maybe even 6 now of those people have jobs. So that's pretty good since it's only been a few weeks, and they're good jobs. So that's anecdotal, but in terms of numbers, it's probably around between 60 and 80%.
So, I know I like this question. So I'll say one of the things I like about the partnership between SMU and Trilogy is that we really do not use our graduation and our post-graduation employment rates as a marketing tool. We don't use it as a recruitment tool. We really focus on the student's journey, getting them from being what we call employer ready to being employer competitive. We believe everybody is employer ready. Everybody that has some skill, that has some resume is ready to do the job. But our job is to introduce you, help you build skill, and then walk with you through an individualized process to get you to the job that you want. So we really do focus on that career coaching through our profile coach team, our career directors. We offer various virtual events and things like that focus on getting students from where they are to where they want to be. Because we often have students who, I don't know if you know into this as well, who come in and they just want to know more, or they want to start their own business, or they're not quite ready to go to work yet. So those type of things will skew numbers. So we don't like to publish those things.
I like this one.
You gonna say 100%?
I am not going to say 100%. I'm going to say, in 2018, we had 86% of our graduates were placed within 6 months. So that's pretty awesome. Admission is very competitive, so it's work ethic, passion, current skills, and backgrounds are looked at. We only admit about 30% of applicants. And then our motto is hire the attitude and train the skills. So it's really, do you have a good attitude? Are you here to work? Is this something that you will work for? And because, again, there's only opportunity cost that's out of your pocket. And so we're investing a lot in you of our personal time as well, because my day doesn't end at 5. My day, I will stay until somebody's done.
I'll put that on a hand letter thing on my wall. Attitude and train the skills. Okay, so this launches right into our next one. What sort of post-graduation support do you have? I know some places have like career success managers and things like that. So let's talk about that aftercare.
Aftercare, I like that.
We have, so I would say DevMountain, the more of the focus is on education, but there is job support. So the last week of the program is when we focus on preparing we do have someone who is like a career coach who helps us, and he is also available and works one-on-one with the students depending on their needs. So if you graduate, he's always available to you as a resource to work with and come in and get counseling on the job search. But I definitely think that DevMountain is probably more focused on the education and the experience there, and then when you graduate, you come out of it with the skills you need to hopefully get a job without too much extra support, but it's there if it's needed.
Cool. We, like I said, we have a profile coach team. We have career milestones laid out for students that they work on throughout the 6 months or 3 months that are in our program. Those milestones are reviewed by our profile coach team. At week 6, week 18, and week 23, students will start to receive information from their career coaches, and they'll start setting up one-on-one calls with those career coaches, and those calls will go on until that student is employed. So they will work with a coach through their, we call them post-graduation journey. And so they will have that support there. We also have the webinars and things like that to help students really tackle those frequently asked questions as students are going on their job journey.
Did I mention I don't stop at 5? All right. So our job placement on the platform by Scholas side with our partnership, corporate partnership, if they graduate with a 75% or above, they are guaranteed an interview. Not a job, but an interview. So you still have to, prove what you're worth in an interview. And that's all assessments and case studies. And then when companies come to us, we will send out matching student profiles for their potential needs, and we build relationships with those companies as well as pass along those opportunities as any good place would. However, we cannot and do not guarantee placement.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, so let's get back more into the education side. So portfolio, is this, you start day one, you're building it with every little project along the way. Am I gonna have a beautiful interview-ready portfolio at the end of this?
Well, to be honest, I wouldn't put my day one project in my portfolio, but yes, there is the highest emphasis placed on building the portfolio. So every major project you do is something you could put in your portfolio, and the idea is that you come out of there with a lot to show. So yeah, definitely portfolio is a major emphasis at DevMountain.
Quick follow-up, just to add to the end of these answers. And is it hosted on GitHub, or if not, somewhere else?
Well, you can host your portfolio wherever you want. We do require, in order to badge, so badging is kind of like you've graduated and you've met the highest level of what their expectations are. So in terms of completing assessments and everything. So in order to badge, you do have to have a portfolio that is hosted. So you can do that through Git Pages and have your free HTML site where you have links to your work, but yeah.
Yes. So our students with our students, they actually are encouraged to show some of their work from the beginning, middle, and end, so it shows that evolution of learning and evolution of growth, and we do ask them to clean it up. It's something that I do that. So we do ask them to clean up the portfolio a little bit, but we want to see that evolution of learning. It is hosted on GitHub and Git Pages and things like that. And one of the career milestones that's a part of that 7 package is their portfolio, their LinkedIn, their resume, their brand statement, and all of that. So they work on that over the course of the cohort.
Okay, so I know all of our instructors encourage our students to have a personal project because of its valuable nature. I emphasize it is not required in our courses. But it's a very passionate thing that I hit on very early in my classes and make sure, work on a personal project to figure something out. We might be changing our case study soon. Instead of having a mass project that everybody does, everybody needs to come up with their own, because it will be something that will be more beneficial to them, because it will be that personal touch that will help them remember and be engaged to stay with it.
Alumni, I know that some of y'all have bigger cities, or I think all of y'all are kind of all over. I guess SMU is online. So sort of, what's your network like across the globe? Do you get to utilize that? If I graduate, can I call up Joe in Maine and come work for him?
So the network is one of the biggest advantages of DevMountain. I would say, not necessarily like globally, but there are plenty of people who've gotten jobs who are working in Silicon Valley and all over the country, and we're very actively communicating through Slack. We have our Slack channel, and if you're working on projects and you just want to ask for some advice, you go on Slack, and the DevMountain community is there to answer questions or just talk about their technology. So the tech company already is really tightly knit and helpful, and that's one of the things that I love about being in this community now, and the DevMountain has its own version of that. And the greatest benefit of that is it really helps with getting a job, because so many of our graduates are working for companies like Neiman Marcus, and we have 2 recent graduates who were just hired by IBM, so it helps to have that network.
So we do have a strong alumni network, even though we're SMU's Coding Bootcamp and Data Science Bootcamp. We have the Trilogy overall arching alumni network, and so you'll see students, alumni on LinkedIn connecting with each other and making those connections across the country and across the world. As far as locally, we have our alumni that will come back for our project demo days. They'll come, if we call them, hey, will you come do a lunch and learn with us? They'll come do that. We've had alumni actually come in and hire some of our students that are leaving, and they'll come and hang out. Actually, they'll come back and watch some of the project presentations and give feedback. So we do have an active alumni here and globally.
We could do better. I'm very transparent, okay? So our alumni network we've been in Dallas since 2015 with our A+N+I. So we've been building and building and building. Across the country, we're not as unified, but it's an active thing that we're working on. So Dallas is currently working on a new project, and it's going to be an alumni-led group that will focus around networking events and ongoing training to help both current students and alumni. And we're hoping that we can get it passed out to the other locations, and so it will be a bigger group. So we're actively, we're choosing our new alumni board to start things out.
Off book before the last one that we have here, because you brought it up, and I'm curious, how do you handle communication within your students? Like you said, you have Slack. So if you use Slack, what's the community like, and you get to stay on after you've graduated, so you can kind of roll through and still get to talk to alumni that way?
Yes.
Yes.
That was easy.
So we use Slack, and the students, we keep each cohort open, and then I know independently they have their own channels of things that they...
No way. What? I don't believe that.
I'm learning all kinds of things from some former students right now. They're like, I'm giving you the scoop, and I'm like, dish.
All right, and our final of these, one piece of advice give to someone interested in switching to technology.
So it kind of, for me, depends on at what stage in life you're doing that. Graduating high school or getting into college, then it's going to be a little bit easier for you to get into it, and you should go for it and explore it and do what you can, build some stuff, read some stuff. If you're a career changer like I am, so I had a career as a teacher for over 10 years. I have a master's in education, and it just was a strange thing that I ended up having this life change where I decided to get into tech. It's going to be harder, but if you are motivated, then these boot camps are the best thing that will come your way. And I cannot believe where I am right now, like how much I've learned, the things I'm doing, what I'm building, what I'm talking about. I'm constantly reading like documentation for pleasure, and
Yes, I have all of that in my class, in our classes. Young, old, career changers, all of that. And one of the biggest things that I tell them is that, especially if they're new to tech, is you're learning how to communicate differently. You are learning a new language. And just remember, the older you get, the harder it is for you to learn a second language. That's just our brains. And so I tell them to expect difficulty, but it's not impossible. And one of the things, once you're in class, Tiffany attests to this, we tell students, fail fast,
Yes.
fail here, fail now, and it's okay. Yeah,
Yep.
it is all good to fail, and it's gonna be okay. We'll put it back together. So.
You're not learning if you're not failing.
That's real.
So, my mantra for all of my students, and nothing delights me more when it shows up in their assignments to my coworkers, says, "You've got this. You need to focus, study, and practice." That's the bottom line. Practice is everything. Keep working on exercises. Find places to do exercises. And don't give up. The second you give up and you tell yourself that you're not gonna be able to do it is the second that you're gonna actually fail. So my mantra is, I got this. If I don't got this, I'm gonna get this.
Okay, so now we've got a couple of questions y'all submitted ahead of time and that are being handed to me real time as we speak. It's just in, breaking news. So we're gonna put y'all on the spot. These aren't tough, you're fine. Do I need to have a bachelor's degree to be accepted for a boot camp?
Not a bachelor's degree. One of the requirements right now with our corporate sponsor is an associate's degree. The core program side does not have a college degree of any kind that's required.
I would say for ours, for the coding bootcamp, no. For the data science bootcamp, it is a little more intense, and I've seen students who do have a bachelor's do better, but it's not required. It's definitely strongly recommended.
For DevMountain, it's not required to have a bachelor's. So I had a lot of people in my cohort, my peers, who chose to do the bootcamp instead of doing a 4-year program in computer science.
I also wanted to ask, I know you mentioned this earlier, you only accept 30% of applicants.
So we have a lot, as you can imagine, being a free program, we have a lot of applicants. So there's several rounds that they go through for the application process. There's a coding challenge, there is an in-person interview, and then there's potentially a panel interview with the instructors as well, if there's a gap in our instruction schedule.
Same question. Is there an acceptance rate, or is it just write a check and teach me things?
Oh no.
Not everybody. Coding is not for everyone.
Preach.
It's true. It's not for me. I know my weakness. Okay. We do have an application process. There is a coding test. There's an interview. So there are some things that you have to do to get in. But I know it's not. It's definitely not 30%. It's a little bit higher than that. But with our tech systems program that we have, it's a little bit closer to similar to this program. So, but as far as regular coding and data science, regular application process.
So we have about 200 applications for every 24 student classroom or 32 student classroom. So if you can't get in this time, there's always the next time. We don't rule anybody out.
So for DevMountain, it's definitely a lot easier. We're very, like I said, one of the values is accessibility. So if you want to try it, you can come in. And if you find that it's too difficult, they have really good policy about full refunds. So after up to 2 weeks, you get a full refund in entirety, and then after that, it's prorated. But I think that's actually something that's been a recent change too, is even opening the door even more to bring in more students, and we've changed the curriculum a bit, so now the first week is focused on fundamentals rather than putting that that on the students to do on their own before they come in. So they get a lot of support from mentors, that's the job that I do, and then from the instructors from day one, instead of just, kind of floundering on their own and not having the chance to ask questions when they need to in those early stages.
All right, age-old question. Here's my favorite. Decide everyone's career path for them. Do you think it's more beneficial to pursue a career in UX design or web development full stack? Which profession has more job opportunities and room for growth?
So I was kind of like making that decision because I really like the idea of UX and user interface, and I have kind of an eye for design. It's just like an interest. But I chose to do full stack because of the fact that I wanted to have the foundation in the tech that would open the most doors, I think. This is my personal opinion, not necessarily DevMountain speaking, but when I did my research, I felt that it would definitely be the better route to take to get that as the foundation, and then I would pursue the UX on my own through like other professional development. And then, I'm trying maybe to focus on front-end development. But I think it really comes down to each person and what their interests are. If you already have a tech background, then UX might be a good way to go if that's your passion.
I will agree with Sandra. I will agree with Sandra that with the UX UI, the full stack gives you more marketability, I believe. In the UX UI, it may limit what you can do, and you'll still end up having to learn more. That's kind of what I've seen.
I concur. All right, so you'll have feedback.
I don't think I have a choice anymore.
I told you it was dangerous to give me a microphone.
Yeah, you did work.
All right. So when I was in boot camp, we did 3 full stacks. And is everybody familiar with the age-old joke of the pretending to be a front-end designer when you're a full-stack developer, when you're really a back-end developer? It's that horse that's beautifully drawn.
Listen, I'm feeling attacked right now.
No, that's totally me. So, I think that the full stack does give you the full ability to understand everything that's going on. And I think it's extremely valuable, especially if you're a career changer, to get started, understanding how things are tying in together and understanding all the different aspects. But that being said, I don't think I will ever be a front-end designer because I draw stick figures poorly.
All right. I like the poorly clarification on the end. Stick figure isn't bad enough. Okay, so a lot of job posts don't refer to boot camp grads. How do you find a job after graduating from a boot camp?
Apply.
Here's a mic for the people in the back.
Apply. That's how you find a job. I have students that enroll on day one, guys. The program is 6 months. On day one. So I'm not going to be able to get a job. First of all, can you learn how to use GitHub first? Can we do that first? Can we work on your resume first? Can we do some things first? And then we'll get to apply. And would you run into that? Well, we said we're supposed to have this, that, and the other. Again, apply. Only thing you're going to hear is either yes, no, or maybe.
So you're saying that some places say they don't hire boot camp grads, is that what you meant?
Not necessarily that, but it's not listed. It will usually say like requires a degree or 5 years experience, something like that. It never really says like boot camp graduates enter here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The path is never paved in that much gold.
Well, if you want to get a job, the best way to do that is, besides, of course, you need to apply, but you should also just make something really awesome. So I think if you're going to try and get a job, how are you going to make something awesome do something like a boot camp, or, I mean, if you're that kind of person who can do it on your own, then that's another way to do that too.
Dramatic pause. All right. What was the question? I paused long enough.
Yeah, that was your problem. Boot camp grads.
Yes.
Specified job.
Bootcamp grads. That was the question.
This is a boot camp panel. You're in a safe place.
What? That's what I've been talking about the whole time, right? Okay, fair enough. All right, so getting a job afterwards is not necessarily about, don't forget what you did beforehand. There's a lot of your resume that's still applicable to what you're doing moving forward. Just because for me, I'll use myself as an example. I was a corporate trainer for 16 years at a small IT company, and I got a mic a lot. And then, things happen in companies and there's layoffs, right? Well, I was one of 13 in a 26-person company that, kind of stung. But that led me to where I'm at now. So I had more personal growth in that year, the 10 months of unemployment, than I had in the previous 16. So there's a lot that you learn about yourself through the boot camps. I learned more perseverance than I thought I could ever dream of during my boot camp. And then to be able to go back and actually teach at one as well is pretty phenomenal to me. So don't disregard your past history.
So we're talking about a job afterwards, or I'm sorry, that was the next one. I'm reading ahead. We're talking about transitioning careers. So what skills or software are most important or attractive to have? C#, just kidding. When transitioning from an entirely unrelated field.
Not Ruby, apparently.
No, you're right. That's the right answer.
It is my passion language, but it is not Ruby. Python is really a kind of a universal one. Dallas is really big for C# and Java.
React. Learn React is the best one.
Nah, I'm not gonna.
The women who code leadership is just going to brawl later in the parking lot. It's fine. I didn't realize one of the audience questions would incite a riot, but it has, and here we are. All right, so we sort of kind of did talk about graduation rates. So even if you can't give me a number, you can give me a head nod or a wink. What is the on-time graduation rate?
Our on-time graduation rate, because we move things along, so at the end, you're just ready to graduate. That's just how it goes. It's like you've just driven through the drive-thru and here's your burger.
So at DevMountain, so you can graduate with your cohort, or you can graduate with the cohort that comes after you. If you need more time, you can defer. So if it's, a lot of people do that actually. It's not frowned upon to do that. If you get in there and you're overwhelmed and you're like, I just really need more time to feel like solid in the foundations, or I think some people just learn differently than other people, and so they're not comfortable just going at that pace. So they might choose to defer and then come back. So we have this thing called the badge, and if you get the badge, then it recognizes you as fulfilling all the assessment requirements. And if you don't badge at the end of your cohort, you can badge later. So I think that's one of the things that's really good about DevMountain is they acknowledge that there are different ways that you're going to learn and achieve your goals. So.
Oh, sorry. You're looking at me as you want me to answer that question.
I want to hear from everyone.
So our program is 6 months or 3 months. And so we do work with students to get their homework completed. So to receive the certificate from SMU, you can only have 4 absences and 2 missed homeworks. That's it. And so they can turn them in a little bit late, but they need to be on time. So when the cohort ends, if I have students that have had extenuating circumstances, we will offer them an extension, but their certificate will still say the end of that cohort. But that doesn't happen often because the end date will roll in another cohort, so. Yeah.
We have an attendance policy as well. It's 2 absences and 4 tardies. And we do make exceptions for interviews, etc. And if that gets abused, we start asking for appointment schedules, etc. with who you're meeting with. That's only happened on a couple of occasions, but just don't abuse it.
Yeah, and I need to make that clear too, that DevMountain does have that similar policy. If you're going to defer, it's a conversation that you're going to have and you're going to be supported, but it's not like, oh, you can just turn this in like 2 weeks later. You know, you have to stick to the deadline. So that's why some people do need to defer. But yeah, it's strict.
So that brings up a good next point. How are you judging your students' worth along the way, and how are they sort of graded? Do you have tests? Do you have quizzes?
I judge
Lots of
everybody all the
projects?
time.
I feel it. I feel it right now.
We have knowledge-based assessments and skills-based assessments, as well as exercises that we ask you to turn in, and if we get to grading them, awesome. If not, it's a completion grade. Let's be honest, I'm a teacher. That's how that works. Okay. It's a short period of time, and this last class that we had was a double class. We had 49 students, and it was breathtakingly hectic.
With our cohort, we do have, each cohort, they have homework due every week. And they do receive a grade even though they do not need the grade to actually get the certificate, but there is a grade because you techies need grades. We just tell you you were okay, and it's like, oh, no, I need a grade. So there's graded homework, there are 3 projects they have to complete, and so that's how we track it, and we do have some checkpoints that we do, and we do have some assessments that are in the works, but they're not there yet.
Sounds similar to DevMountain, where we have skills checks and simulation type assessments. So you go through and you do all of your assignments, which you have to turn in, and then the mentors grade those. So, you know, that's part of my job, is going through and looking at people's code, making sure that it works, and then I meet with them one-on-one, and they can ask me specific questions. But then also, you know, every couple of weeks they have a skills check where they don't get to ask questions and they have to sit at their computer and they have to actually build something. And it's a really good way for them to gauge, like, if they're actually learning what we're teaching and where they are in the process. And then, of course, projects have rubrics that they have to follow, and they have to get a certain number of points to be able to badge and graduate.
So that's interesting, and I want to ask about this. So if I'm taking a test or an assessment or something like that, or if I have one of these one-on-ones and I'm not doing so hot, what's the process like from your point of view? Is there meetings with someone else to teach me more Ruby, or?
Ruby's amazing. Scaffold, that's the way to go. It's not. So I'm, as you can guess, I'm kind of the meeting person that goes into the classrooms when they haven't done so well, and we were just talking about this, and so I went into a fellow instructor's classroom and I said, most of them had just failed a SQL exam. Yeah, that's not fun, right? Can I boast for a second?
You have exactly 1 second.
Everyone in my last class passed. Anyway, I got to teach it finally for them. You should listen to me, I'm smart. So, I walked in and said, all right, how many of you got the grade you wanted? And about 4 hands went up. I said, okay, how many of you got the grade you deserved? Nearly all of them went up. So why is there a gap in the middle? What are you doing? What are you not doing? to make that gap disappear. So you're gonna have one more chance to get it. You guys should have been studying for this. It starts in 10 minutes, bye. And they get one more opportunity, and that's it. I don't have time to sit there and grade exams over and over and over.
With us, if they miss too many homeworks or if the homeworks are not doing so well, I do flag them and I will have to, as a student success manager, that's part of my job. I try to get the TAs to take an initiative on that as well. But sometimes it takes a one-on-one to have that heart-to-heart conversation to see what's going on, to do a skills check, to see where they're spending their time and things like that. But if it continues, it's on you. It's your money lost, and you're not getting it back. So.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, sorry, can you repeat the question?
We took a little journey over there. I know. It was just if I'm coming in and if I don't get a good grade on assessment or I'm messing something up, what's the process for getting me back on track?
Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of support to help you. So hopefully, the students, they have mentors to help them. Some students don't always take advantage of that, but we do try to check in with the students and say, look, it seems like you might need some support. So can we go into another room and sit one-on-one and work on these things? And so there's kind of a balance there. You have to do your best, work your hardest, and the support is there for you to succeed. And the students, they can ask for that support as they need it. So, yeah, I think if you're struggling on a test, the skills test, like I said, it's not really going to tell you where you are if your mentor is coming over and getting into the code and showing you what's wrong. So that's not the time when that happens, but every other day it's available.
We have a multitude of instructors, so if somebody needs a different way of it being explained to them, we encourage that. They reach out to someone else. And we also encourage a lot of our students have experience in some of these areas, whether it's SQL or Java or C#. And I tell my students straight up, if you have a different way of explaining it that might be more clear, I am not going to be upset if you share that, because everybody learns different.
All right, this is gonna be our last one, but I like this one. So other than, I haven't liked any of the others. Other than straight up languages, straight up SQL, Java, React, what sort of dev skills are you teaching your students? I have some examples here, and we mentioned Agile earlier, so I'm curious about that. But source control, unit testing, or just testing in general, estimating LOEs, ticket sizes, Agile, waterfall, anything. You're gonna die.
I got so many answers for this.
I don't, so.
I'll share.
Okay.
So I teach SDLC, STLC, ITIL, ITSM. Do you know what those are? Some of you yes, some of you no. Okay. So software development lifecycle, software testing lifecycle. ITIL is the Internet Technologies Infrastructure Library. What? ITSM is the Internet Technology Service Management. What? Ticketing systems, awesome. It's my jam. We do Agile. They do get a little brief waterfall happening. Don't get wet, because Agile is the way to go. Don't get wet.
I don't think we teach anything else. I know we do testing.
Jay, you can explain.
Just testing, yes, just testing. And soft skills. I love one of the soft skills are amazing. I think one of the great things that I students struggle with, but I love it because I love to see them conquer it and really pushing and pulling and give up, and Heroku kills them, but after they get it, it's like, oh, that's how it works. So yeah.
So the staff at DevMountain meets regularly with local companies to find out feedback on what they think, because a lot of times they
final, to wrap up, just give me elevator pitch, what gets you excited about what you do for your respective boot camps, what gets you up out of bed in the morning, makes you excited to go to work.
I love my students. I get students from all over the world that come in and learning about who they are, what drives them, how this will make their life different, if it will enhance their life, that drives me. And maybe they have challenges that they haven't been able to conquer in other areas. Many counselor has also been a title of mine. I think any instructor or staff member at a boot camp kind of gets a little of that as well. And having a student be able to be comfortable enough with you to acknowledge their issues or feel accepted for the first time is huge.
For me, what gets me out of bed, and I work from home, so.
Doesn't get too far.
Let's just say what makes me go on my laptop. Okay. I really do enjoy, I work with students from elementary all the way to now adult learning. And so for me, one of my mantras has always been, my goal is to help people get from where they are to where they want to be within what I can do. And so I tell my students on day one, my title is Student Success Manager. What I do, I put out fires and I save lives one moment at a time. Whether it's a phone call, a Slack, an email, a conversation, I put out fires and I save lives. That's what I do. And I enjoy it, and I actually have to go do some more of that tonight.
So, let's see, this is May, right? A year ago, I was teaching 7th grade, and I was... It was difficult. We'll just say that. And at that point, I had no idea that I would be here. I had no idea that I was going to go into that boot camp and just be in a completely different place in my life right now. So, DevMountain is everything to me. Like, my whole life has changed because of it. And I think a lot of people say that about DevMountain. A lot of people I've met, my instructor, I love the community, and I mean, that's my pitch. It just has made me happy again, so.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.